I knew he was going to have a great future. He was the student newspaper. He was doing stuff outside of school. He would go to the elementary schools and he'd read books to the kids. And he was the nicest kid you've ever met from about 7:30 to 3:45 every day. And then from about 3:45 to 6, he was an absolute psycho, which was great. And he just always competed. But no, whatever he chose to do, I knew he'd be great at it.
Chris Haddeland was that kid at Mac High. The one that dove on the floor and challenged his own teammates at basketball practice. The student newspaper editor at the Bruin. And the gritty pitcher who never stopped in his quest to get better.
He's the type of kid I think he could have done anything he wanted to. His dad's a doctor, his mom's a nurse practitioner, I believe. He could have easily followed that field too. He was a very smart kid, and they don't get much better than Chris Haddeland.
Chris grew up in a house with twin younger brothers, Aaron and Ryan. They became key members of the MAC cross-country team and other sports. They were also tough to tell apart on campus.
Twin brothers did swimming. They did the camps too when they were little kids. But they were, all three of them, man, all three of those guys they loved to compete and play stuff. And like I said, you'd go by their house and there'd be balls in the front yard all over the place. There'd be a soccer net. Heck, one of them might be flying through the air going onto the grass. But there was always something going on.
But this is a story about an athlete who would leave his mark on the pitching mound.
I don't know if he had necessarily the most overpowering stuff or anything like that, but the kid threw strikes, the kid knew how to pitch, and again, kind of just that relentless, mindset. He was a part of a really good team, had a big part in us getting, I don't know if it was second round quarterfinals. We lost a tough one at Jesuit. The things, when you look at him, he's not necessarily the most physically imposing or anything like that, but his will and his heart, got him everything that he got. And again, he was part of a group, that kind of his senior class, that group of kids were all very similar in that. They were just great teammates, great Grizzlies, and just competed their tails off.
Chris Haddeland went out with a bang in both his sports. He is still remembered for hitting the game-winning shot to end a triple overtime battle at Century High School.
At Century High School, and definitely we're kind of both in contention for the league title. I just remember before the game, we had just a huge student section. In fact, we had to kind of readjust because just the crowd was overflowing. And Chris in basketball was, and actually in everything, just kind of a bulldog. Would defend the other team's best players, was not necessarily a big stat guy as far as points, but if there was a defensive play that needed to be made, if there was a pass that kind of led to the play, Chris or Hattie was usually the one making that play. And all I remember is it was either overtime or maybe even double overtime, and I don't know if Chris had taken a shot the entire night. And takes a three, nails it, and that basically won the game for us.
Chris was an incredible competitor. He was a very good player, super unselfish player, and I loved him. I loved coaching that kid, but he loved to try to shoot, and he was not the greatest shooter, not a bad shooter, not the greatest shooter, and him and I would have these little discussions. And one day he was a senior, we had kind of a big discussion, and I just kind of told him, here's your role, here's what you need to do. And he was like, well, why do we do all these shooting drills during practice? And I go, well, so that someday when we really need it, you're able to make a shot when we have it. And we were kind of going back and forth. But yes, in that game against Century, which it ended up going to triple overtime, and he hit a huge shot for us. And it was just Chris, it was how he was. He was ready to take it, and he was excited. Yeah, it was awesome. Didn't surprise me, because he was like that. He wasn't scared of the big moment.
His senior season was also his best in baseball.
As far as baseball goes, he made a huge jump from his junior year to his senior year, especially as a pitcher and a hitter. His junior year, he was a little inconsistent as a pitcher. At times, he'd go out and throw 2 or 3 really good innings, and then he'd kind of struggle throwing strikes for a couple innings. So he had a ways to go as a junior, but he just needed to get stronger. And boy, I'll tell you, as a senior, I think he made the biggest jump of any of the players I coached as a pitcher for sure. And as a senior, he really got more velocity on his fastball, threw really hard. I'd guess he was 86 to 88 as a senior. It wasn't just lights out with the fastball, but it was definitely good enough for high school baseball. He was a strike machine as a senior and developed just a knockout slider as a senior. Senior year, he had probably over 100 strikeouts during the season. It was basically the senior year when we get 2 strikes on a batter. And when I was a head coach, I called all the pitches for my pitchers. Darren Bland at this time was the head coach, and he asked me to be his pitching coach, but he wanted me to call the pitches also. And I'll tell you, Chris's control was so good as a senior, it made my job pretty easy calling pitches.
Chris was the Pacific Conference Pitcher of the Year as a senior, named All-State, and played in the State Metro All-Star Series. That really caught the attention of Linfield coach Scott Brocious, who had already seen Chris pitch for several years.
As a college coach, you're looking at it a little bit different, right? And numbers maybe as a junior weren't great, but I still, you see certain types of stuff. You see things that you're like, okay, there's more to come. And obviously as a senior, there was more to come. And where he caught my attention, and he'd had my attention, but really his senior basketball season, when I watched him play, and I'm like, ooh, okay, he's from his junior to his senior, even before baseball started, I'm like, he's grown, or he's explosive on the basketball court. There was just things there too that I liked that helped me just know, like I said, this guy is he's going to continue to get better and better. He pitched as a freshman. He was certainly part of our varsity. He had the type of stuff where when he came to Linfield, we knew we had an impact guy. That we knew that we had a guy that was really going to play a big part in our pitching staff, you know. And he did as a freshman more in a relief role. Then certainly by a sophomore year, he was our number one starter.
In 2013, Chris Haddeland put together an amazing season with a 15-1 record, 1.7 ERA, and 96 strikeouts for the Linfield baseball team that would win the Division III Collegiate National Championship.
If you look back at a season, you see one loss, right? And his one loss was his first game of the year, first start of the year. It was one of those crazy games where every hit he gave up, was a soft hit that found a hole. Every line drive that we hit got caught, just one of those kind of crazy games. So he lost his first start of the year and never lost a game for the rest of the entire year.
That championship run included a difficult postseason of 10 games. Haddeland proved to be an iron arm, pitching in 6 of those games.
For me, you look at two things. You look at tangibles, you look at certain physical skills, and he had that, right? He had a good fastball with movement. He had breaking pitches that he could control, so he had really good command. But some of the intangibles, to me, are what separates like good from great. And what made him great was two things. He was competitive and he was confident. He wanted the ball. During the season, he would pitch game 1 for us on Saturday, then show up Sunday morning and say, hey, I'm good to go if you need me. And I'm like, no, you're not going to pitch today. But it was that mentality. So for us, in a sense, it was kind of saving his bullets a little bit as the season went on, because we knew in the postseason, the way those tournaments are set up, that he was going to start at least a couple of those games and most likely come in and relieve and give us a couple key innings somewhere in the middle.
Chris Haddeland was named National Player and Pitcher of the Year. He still holds the Linfield career record for wins with 34 and the second best career ERA at 1.66. He graduated from Linfield with a degree in business and communications and now works in the hospitality industry. Today, we welcome Chris Haddeland to the McMinnville High School Hall of Fame.